My name is Dr. Chris Wilson. I'm a psychologist and the director of Being Trauma Informed. In this video, we'll be looking at what it means to engage in trauma-informed supervision in the age of working remotely. Let's start by clarifying what we mean by the phrase being trauma-informed. From our organization's perspective, this means allowing the science of threat and trauma to influence the way we practice with both others and ourselves, both individually and as organizations, or in the case of this video specifically, the practice of supervising others. So we're going to cover some of the relevant science and the practical applications of that science to supervision. We'll start with the notion that our brains have the ability to both connect with others, often called social engagement or attachment circuitry, and the ability to detect and react to threat, often called defense circuitry. These are both mechanisms of survival. Think about that. Normally, we only think about the defense circuitry as being related to survival, but without the ability to form connections to both protect ourselves and work together, our species would not have survived over time. When it comes to supervising others, we also have to be aware of the fact that our brains see threat to status in the same way they see threat to our physical self. Now, the simple explanation for this is that thousands of years ago, losing your status, for example, being kicked out of your family, your village, your tribe, was just as life-threatening as facing the lion, the tiger, or the bear. Another really interesting part of the science is that if we can activate the social engagement circuitry, we can dampen our defense circuitry and build our resilience. Again, that's about survival. If we can stay together when we hear a noise that may be a lion in the bushes, as opposed to fleeing, we're more likely to fight together and survive. On top of all of this, if your employee has a trauma history, their defense circuitry is likely highly sensitized to threat. Again, from a survival perspective. So think about working remotely, and let's put science and reality together and draw some conclusions. First off, if social engagement can dampen our defense circuitry, I hope it makes sense that you want to be meeting more often with your staff because they aren't getting the normal day-to-day interaction with their peers. So scheduling time to check in and catch up with each other is crucial. Hopefully, it also makes sense that working remotely is exhausting. You aren't seeing colleagues in the hallway or interacting informally in ways that allow you to blow off steam and reduce your stress. You're also likely staring at a screen for hours on end for meetings. And as nice as it is to be out of the office, it makes it that much easier to work longer, and yet so many of us feel like we aren't being as effective as we'd like to be. That all equals threat to status. When we are experiencing stress, feel like we aren't performing up to our usual standards, that can make it even more challenging to keep up and keep our heads above water. So as a supervisor, it's really important to normalize exhaustion, normalize the struggle to stay focused, and normalize drops in productivity. Because if we press on that, we simply make the situation worse. Now, getting back to resilience building, we recommend finding creative ways to start your meetings with positivity. Whether that's inviting someone to share a happy photo, an inspiring quote, or a fun story, keep in mind that when folks are working remotely, they don't get the normal positive interactions they get from being in the office. So bring that to them in staff meetings. Now, if at some point you have to talk to an employee about a performance issue remotely, it's more important than ever to use good supervision practices. So, assuming you've been promoting self-evaluation, Give your employee the chance to see and address the issue first, because that is how you lessen threat to their status. In times of working remotely, it's also even more important to encourage and express faith in your employees' ability to address and take care of an issue. Remember, they aren't going to have their colleagues boosting their confidence informally at lunch or around the office. So that has to come from you. And finally, it's important to know that our brains read facial expressions and tone for the purposes of determining threat to status. So stay compassionate and adopt what I call safe eyes. It's a stance of genuinely caring about the folks that are working for you and with you. When we approach people with a neutral, detached, or even business as usual perspective, that may work in person, but remotely you just open the door to people questioning their status, which will actually lead to them struggling to staying engaged and being productive. Obviously, supervision is a complex and nuanced practice. And in a short video like this, there's a lot we don't have time to discuss. So if you're interested in learning more, please visit our website, www.beingti.com, and sign up for our newsletter. The Being Trauma-Informed Virtual Training Academy will be offering webinars on trauma-informed supervision, and the newsletter is the best way to stay informed. We'll hope to see you there. In the meantime, stay focused on reinforcing social engagement and trying to minimize threat to status as you supervise your staff working remotely. I hope you found this video practical and helpful. Please do sign up for our mailing list and stay in touch. And until next time, I'm Dr. Chris Wilson, and this has been a Being Trauma-Informed production.